Hello guys, welcome to this channel, and in this video we will see what is days in between function in DAX, and we will also see how to use this function to calculate our sales with respect to custom dates, and we will also see how to use this function to generate a list of dates in our report. So to understand this days in between function, let us consider we are having a business use case where we want to calculate our total revenue for our electronic store only for the period of March 2025 to June 2025. So let's see how we can use this days in between function to filter our dates with respect to our custom range. So let's start inside our Power BI desktop. So now we are inside Power BI. So let's understand what is days in between function. So before that, I have two tables in my canvas. So the first table, which is nothing but it shows me the total sales for each month for the selected year. And if you see my second table, where I have used my days in period function, which we have seen in our earlier videos. So this shows me the total cumulative sales for past 2 months. So for each month, it calculates the total cumulative sales by adding up my past 2 months sales, and it gives me the cumulative sales here. And now let's see at what scenario this days in between function is used. So let me create a new measure here. So let me give a title as days in between. And then I will use my calculate function to do my total sales calculation. So in my filter field, I will use my days between function. So now you can see the syntax. This days between function which returns the list of dates between two given dates. So meaning that this days between function which takes particular start date and end date from us as an input, and it returns a list of dates which are present between those two dates. So let us see how it works. So I will use my date column in my date field. So for my start date and end date, let us consider I just want to calculate my total sales only for this Jan month of this year. So for the start date, I will use my date function, and I will give my particular start date here. So let me give Jan first as my start date. So in the end date, I'm going to use my last date of my Jan month. So I will use same date function, and let me give Jan 31st as my last date. So I will close this measure. So this days in between measure which takes a list of dates which are present between my start date and end date, and then it calculates my total sales for that given period. So let us use these days in between measure in a table visual. So now I will increase my value size little bit. So now you can see that my days in between measure which calculates my total sales for the month of Jan for 2023. So this is how, if you have any two specific dates, and if you want to calculate the total sales or any calculation for that given period, we can use this days between function in that scenario. So I can also change my time period here. So for example, with respect to my business use case, let me calculate the total sales for the month of March 2025 to June 2025. So now in the start date, I have given March 1st as my start date, and in the last date, I have used June 31st as my last date. So this days between function, which generates the list of dates which are present between this time period, and for that time period we are going to calculate my total sales. So I will save this measure. So now you can see that we got the total sales for the period of March 2025 to June 2025. So this is how we can use this days between function to generate a list of dates when we have two specific dates. And now let us see another scenario where we will use this days between function to calculate these cumulative sales like we did using our days in period function. So let me rewrite my days between function here. So in my start date field, let me use my date add function, and inside my date add I'll use last date function, and I'll specify my date column here. So for the given date, I want to move it to past 2 months. So what this start date will do is, for the given date in my filter context, it will consider that date, and from that date it will move 2 months back, and it will take that date as my start date. So for example, in the month of March, it will move 2 months back, which is my January month, and it will take January 1st as my start date. So next, in the end date, I just want to use my particular date which are present in my filter context. So for that, I'll use my date column inside last date function. So now I have given start date and end date for my date between function. So let us close this measure, and we will see how this measure works now. So in this table, I will use my date hierarchy here from my date table, and I will only have my year and month, and now I will use these days in between measure here. So now if you see this table, my days in between measure, which gives me the past 2 months cumulative sales like we did using our date in period function. So the only difference is, if you see these two tables, you will see a mild increase in total cumulative sales, which was calculated using this days in between function. So if you see this March month, you can see the difference here. So in days in period, it gives me 459 something, but my days between function, which gives me 467. So this is because the date add function which we have used in our days between function. So let us see it very deeply now. So I have created a new page here, and I have three visuals. In the first visual, I have just used my total sales here, and in my second visual, I have these both days in period and days between measure here. And I have this slicer where I have used my date hierarchy column here. So let us filter my slicer to 2023 March. So I will select my March month alone. So here you can see the total sales for March month and the days in period function and between function, which differs in total sales value. So now let us see the correct cumulative sales for my March month. So for that I will select my Feb. So if you compare this, my days in period function, which gives me the correct cumulative sales, but whereas my days between function, which gives me little increased value. The reason is because of the date add function. In my March month I have this 31st date. So from this 31st March, it goes 2 months back. So because of that, it also takes my January 31st. So when you have two specific dates, then in that case you can go with this days between function, which is more flexible to do any time intelligence calculations. But whereas if you want to do any cumulative sales or running total sales, you can use this days in period function. So I hope you understood how this days between function, which works inside Power BI report, and how it is differ from this days in period function. So thanks for watching this video.